Aloha! As the holiday season advances on, we hope you have had an excellent, warm, and very happy Christmas. At the same time, we hope that you have a happy new year. And so we are pausing to reflect on the prior decade and the coming potential of the 2020s. Now, something we did this past decade was we read a lot of books, and one of those books was The Millionaire Next Door, and it was a data-driven study of what millionaires really are. And so, what you may want to do if you too want to share in that wealth, how you may want to live, all that kind of stuff. So, one of the things they did in that book, even though it was written all the way back in 1998, was to kind of look at what the future may hold in stock for the whole world. And they concluded that sometime after 2010, shortly after, that perhaps the greatest increase in wealth in human history was likely to occur. And if we're not mistaken, that prediction came true. And so this past decade, from 2010 to 2020, we've apparently seen one of the greatest expansions in American history regarding the economy. And that's something that's very impressive. But more so, we're told that even though at some time in the future, of course, there may be a temporary downturn, in the future, many economists seem to be saying that we're due for even larger creations of wealth, even larger, more robust expansions in the economy. And that's fantastic because although currently we have had this great expansion, it may not have been totally widespread or very equally distributed, right? So for instance, we Americans, we're here in Hawaii, and we have our counterparts on the mainland call us up all the time looking to potentially buy a second home. Maybe it's wintertime like it is now, and maybe they're in the Northeast or the Midwest, and they're cold, and they want to warm up, so they go ahead and they call us, and many are surprised to find out that they are priced out of the Hawaiian real estate market. And just as an example, we've had people call us up, and they would like to buy a second home out here, and they're surprised to learn that a studio condo with no AC, with no water view, that doesn't even have washer and dryer in the unit, might not even have parking, is actually more expensive than their home, their residence on the mainland. And that's honestly because Hawaiian real estate prices, they just keep skyrocketing. In fact, we're third for price per square foot, if I'm not mistaken, in the entire nation. And there's only two real estate markets that are higher than us, right? So that would be San Francisco and Boston, believe it or not. We are the third most expensive real estate market in the nation. And so there are reasons for this, though, right? So why? What are some of those reasons? Well, over the past decade, and we presume over the coming decade, Hawaii has continually ranked among the happiest, healthiest, and longest lived states for its citizenry in America. We have one of the best climates on Earth, and it's not just mainland Americans who want to buy a second home here, right? We have a lot of Canadians and many Japanese who still to this day are buying Hawaiian real estate. Violent crime here is generally lower than in many parts of the mainland, and physical activity, walkability, and time spent in nature are all generally higher, again, in the Hawaiian market than in many real estate markets that are counterpart to us on the mainland. But Hawaii is also a very small state, given its landmass, and it's very remote. So the buildable and livable area is small, and the costs to build are high. As a test case, let's look at the island of Oahu. It's the most populous island with maybe about 1 million residents in the state, right? So A large portion of the land here, and there's only 598 square miles of land on Oahu, a large portion of that land is set aside as preservation area. And that's good, right? We want to preserve the beautiful nature here. It's what makes Hawaii Hawaii. So, believe it or not, most of Oahu, if you've been here, is not like Waikiki. There's lots of Oahu that is pristine, virgin, untouched. You look out and you see wilderness, and it's beautiful and amazing, and it will remain that way because it's preservation land. There's another large portion of the land here set aside for agricultural use. So you just don't really get to build on it. People can put a residence on some of these agricultural zones, but it may be one house every 2 acres or what have you. So you're just not going to see a lot of residences there. So the portion of the land set aside for commercial and residential use is very small, which hikes prices up even higher. And again, that's not going to change. And that's a good thing. We want to preserve the nature here. So going forward, that's a great thing for the 2020s. But there are alternatives to the Hawaiian real estate market in the US, whether they're territories or even in the States. So usually what we do when someone calls us up and they can't purchase here, they're priced out of the market, is we say, well, there's probably 2 places that you want to check out if you want to stay in the US. And that would be Florida or Southern California. And the 2 kind of similar places that pop up to Honolulu in my mind would be maybe Tampa in Florida or San Diego in Southern California. And let's compare. Just because I talked earlier about Hawaii having one of the best climates on Earth, where does that come from? And that comes from, let's just look at the low temperatures. So in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but if I'm not mistaken, the low temperature in Tampa, Florida in 2018 occurred on January 18th, and believe it or not, it was 28 degrees Fahrenheit. That was the low temperature in Tampa in 2018. And the low temperature in San Diego, it was, let's see here, 41 degrees on February 24th. That's also Fahrenheit. 41 degrees Fahrenheit in San Diego on February 24th in 2018. And here in Honolulu, what was the low? The low here in 2018 occurred on February 19th, and that figure, how many degrees Fahrenheit? 63 degrees Fahrenheit was the low in February. Think about that. So there's kind of a difference in your climate, right? And what about the water temperature? Now, I don't have figures for you. I can just tell you from my personal experience, so this is anecdotal, take it for what you will. I grew up in Florida. In the winter, I didn't want to get in the water. I didn't have a wetsuit, and it was too cold to swim in. I used to skimboard, and my feet would go numb when I would skimboard during the winter months. What about California? I've been there briefly, only a period of maybe 9 months. But I was there through the summertime, and I could not get myself to go in that water. And I saw plenty of people who did, surfers, and they were, all of them to a surfer, wearing wetsuits, even in the summer months. So I can't even imagine what it must be like to surf there in the winter, if that's even something that a large percentage of surfers there do. And it may be, because if you have a wetsuit, then maybe you can surf all year round, no problem. But here, what is it like here? What's the water temperature like here? Yesterday, it was wonderful. I went surfing in board shorts, and the water was refreshing and just fantastic. It's just, I had a great time, and I stayed out for 3 hours. It was fantastic. So there's kind of a comparison. There are other things of course, to compare. And it's unfortunate. Right now, California is being struck by a lot of wildfires. And it seems like they used to have a wildfire season, and some Californian residents are now saying that there seem to be a lot more wildfires, and that's very unfortunate. That's not such a problem here, and we hope that that stops being a problem in California going into the 2020s. And what about Florida? Florida does get struck by hurricanes pretty regularly, and the same is true as we saw this year. Unfortunately, in the Bahamas, there was a lot of devastation, and we've seen similar devastation in places like Puerto Rico and the Caribbean. They just get a lot of hurricanes through Hurricane Alley, right? And the last major hurricane that struck here in Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken, this was Hurricane Iniki in 1992. So whatever's going on with Hawaii's position and the temperature, the warm band of water, right, below the islands, maybe it's far enough below where hurricanes don't usually track up into the island chain for a direct hit. But what we do get is we get great summer swells on the South Shore, in part maybe because of the storms that typically go south of us. And maybe that's a benefit if you're a surfer. So on a personal note, I would just love to say how happy I am that in this past decade, I was able to find the love of my life and marry her. And we were able to relocate to Hawaii together to make it our home. And I'm just so grateful that we've ended up working in real estate. It's something that it's a fantastic feeling. I had my real estate license previously in Florida, and to be able to do that out here, it just feels extra special. And we're just so grateful that economists around the world, like we spoke about earlier, keep predicting larger and larger economic booms heading our way, and that we get to help people take part in this great production of wealth by investing their hard-earned savings here. And we believe that real estate will continue to increase in value over the next decade and over the decades that shall follow. And our belief stems from different projections. For instance, we've heard projections that there's supposed to be something like a doubling of the population of the human species over the remainder of the 21st century. So what does that mean? That means we've got 80 years, 8 decades left, right? And we're going to have to add something like 7 to 7.5 billion people to meet that projection over that time period. So that's almost 1 billion people per decade, right? So that's a lot of new people, new human beings with their needs, their desires, ambitions, and all the new wealth that they're going to help create and hopefully share in. And meanwhile, we feel that life in Hawaii is going to continue improving. We already feel so wonderful living here. And we feel like there's indications that that's just going to get better and better. And some of these are, let's just talk about infrastructure. Our commuter rail, its first phase is nearly completed, and that's very exciting. It's overdue, frankly, and we're very excited to have that opportunity to utilize it. And there are modernization efforts being made at the airport, which, yes, badly needed, but we're very excited to be able to utilize that. The Blaisdell Center is set for a major renovation. They look great. The renderings of all the different potentials, what it might become, we're very excited. Something that we've never actually gotten to use is the World War I Memorial Natatorium, which is kind of this saltwater swimming pool. That it's beautiful, but it's never been usable since we've been here the past 5 years. So it's apparently going to be restored, and we'll be able to use it. And there's new public-private partnerships that will bring new kinds of attractions to maybe underutilized parks that are beautiful. Like Kaka'ako Waterfront Park is set to get a world-class play area for all the keiki, and that is just fantastic. Meanwhile, Aloha Stadium is also currently being reimagined, and it needs it, quite frankly. We enjoy everything we do there. We recently watched the Rainbow Warriors have a last-minute victory there over BYU, right on. That was awesome. That's something we did Christmas Eve. And but it's not just that, right? It's not just the attractions. There's also real livability, everyday things that are improving. So again, Honolulu is already one of the most walkable cities in the entire nation. And that's awesome. We love walking. We love walking Waikiki. And there are other places that are becoming just as walkable, if not more so. One of them is Ward Village. So we have some wonderful master plan communities that are being built here on South Shore. Ward Village is one of them, and they're striving to make it very walkable. We also have affordability as a focus for many housing starts. For instance, the Central Ala Moana, which is currently being built. We're very excited to have clients in that project. And there are many more affordable projects being built for residents to take advantage of being able to live here, even though the prices are high, maybe getting in under the market value somewhat, so that there's instant equity and so that they can afford to call the place that is their home, their home. And there's also thousands of single-family homes that are apparently okayed to be built in Ewa, Kapolei, and the West Side, and those will be built over the coming years in this decade and those to follow. Now, even with all these coming improvements to the quality of life here in what is already ranked as America's most livable state, with its main city, Honolulu, being ranked the 22nd most livable city in the world, again, if I'm not mistaken, the state's population is not projected to rise all too much over the next several decades, right? So right now we have a population as of maybe 2016 of around 1.3 million, and the current estimates are that by 2045, that should rise to about 1.65 million. So maybe a 200,000 resident increase over that time period of 25 years. And so there are a lot of locals, there are a lot of planners, experts that are saying, you know, this is manageable. And that is a fantastic thing to hear. So we believe that there will be great benefit from investing in real estate here in Hawaii, and that this benefit will be a part of the projected greatest increase of wealth in human history yet to come. And we know from personal experience that here in our home, Hawaii, we're living the best life we know how to. And we are grateful that the courses of our lives over this past decade places us in this unique situation, this unique place, paradise. And we are so grateful that we are afforded a life with one another, with so much love and happiness, healthfulness, and the chance to enjoy the coming richness that is our world's coming economic expansion, all by helping you, the lucky few, learn that whether or not there is some other life awaiting us beyond this one, we may all take actions to make the life we're living the best we may live, and for the time we have left to enjoy living it. We think having a home in Hawaii helps us do that. So we hope you have a happy holiday. We wish you a happy new year. And to you we ask, why wait? Isn't it time to come and call Hawaii home? Let's all work together to make the 2020s the greatest decade of our lives so far. And to help you do that, we've gone ahead and we've created a website where you can search the MLS for the island of Oahu for free. You don't need to sign up, even though we encourage you to. And one thing that especially mainland residents, kind of get annoyed by when they're searching for real estate on other platforms is that out here we have a lot of what are called leasehold properties, which are not actually for sale. The lease, the long-term lease for the property is for sale, but the deed, the title, is not up for sale. And we automatically filter out those properties. So the properties that you'll see when you search on our website, you can purchase them flat out and own them. Are you ready? Well, the address is very simple: www.liveinwaikiki.net. Yes, www.liveinwaikiki.net. We have no idea why no one had this URL before, but now we do, and it's for your use. So we hope that you're able to take it and use it to find your dream home here on the island of Oahu in Hawaii, paradise. And we're looking forward to spending time with you in the 2020s. Aloha and Happy New Year.